Hey, how are you doing? Recently, yen-dollar exchange market broke through $1 150 yen, and speculation of whether the Japanese government will embark on exchange intervention again due to unstoppable yen depreciation trend in the exchange market becomes the center of people's attention now. And the phenomenon that $1 per yen goes really down to less than 150 yen. $1, 150 yen in the yen dollar exchange market is for the first time since the economic bubble in Japan bursted 32 years ago. And NHK announced that the dollar purchase movement that is optimistic to yield rate increase by yen sales movement was accelerated from the perspective that FRB continues rising the interest rates in the United States. So at the beginning of this year, a dollar yen rate was $1 150 yen, but a dollar yen rate has soared up to $1 150 yen for less than 9 months. So this increased speed is abnormal, I think, really abnormal. So I want to explain why Japanese yen goes too weak against US dollars here. So the primary cause that brings this situation is that the difference in financial policy between the United States and Japan. So Japan is continuously supplying money into cities. So in short, Japan keeps enforcing the quantitative easing policy. In contrast, the United States is correcting money from the cities. In short, the United States is trying to withdraw from quantitative easing policy. So quantitative easing policy is a kind of pork barrel policy to supply money aggressively into cities in order to avoid a recession. So when a country enforces a quantitative easing policy, the government usually supplies money by making the central bank buy the government bonds from private companies in the form of increasing the amounts of current account that private companies possess, right? So on the other hand, a country lowers the interest rate with a qualitative easing policy to circulate money in consumption and investment. For example, Japan has now 0% interest rate policy. In contrast, in the United States, FRB set the cap interest rate as 3.25%, and it also set the floor interest rate as 3% at the Federal Open Market Committee in September 22nd this year. And by the way, at the beginning of this year, the interest rates spreads in the United States was from 0.0 to 0.2%. So by the end of this year, it is said that the cap interest rates in the United States is estimated to be 4%. So why does the United States need to increase the interest rates? This is because it is needed to suppress inflation, right? So how we can define the situation that causes inflation in the country? So it's like the situation where commodity prices rise compared to that in the same month of the previous year, right? So conversely, if commodity prices go down compared to that in the same month of the previous year, this is defined as deflation. So recently, the Japanese government announced on October 21st that inflation rate expressed as consumer price index CPI was 3%, and the current inflation rate expressed as CPI in the United States is 8.5%. So we are undoubtedly in global inflation trends. So by the way, CPI in the European country is currently around 10% averagely. So commodity price increase in European countries is way more serious than that of Japan and the United States. So what is exactly bad because of inflation is that inflation directly causes damage to financial situation of individual consumers. Especially to make matters worse, the rise of commodity prices influence the things related to people's living, such as energy, foods, and residence and medical care system, and education, and so on. In the current situation of Japan, although commodity prices rise sharply, people's salary stagnates. So people's living is really, really hard, right? So if commodity prices keep soaring in this situation, people refrain from using money. They don't buy anything. And economic circulation will stagnate. So leaving inflation at the door will cause great damage on country's economy in the long run, right? And the country will result in inviting a serious recession in the early future because of this. So what the United States gives priority to the most is suppressing inflation. So the central bank in a country has a mission to make economy grow smoothly while controlling the amount of money circulating in the city by monetary easing and monetary tightening through various ways like increase in interest rates and decrease in interest rates and buying the government bonds in the financial market, right? And the central bank have the authority to decide to increase interest rates, right? If federal fund rate rises, this is a big influence to Japan. So, for example, the interest rate for housing loan repayment. The interest rate for housing loan repayment will rise in Japan, and the interest rate for revolving payment of a credit card will rise in Japan, and the financial burden on the car loan and education loan will increase in Japan. So and if you want to make a real estate investment, so if you want to make a real investment in Japan, interest payment to a bank that you ask for a loan for this investment will increase. So actually in the United States, the amount of actually in the United States, the amount of car sales is decreasing now. This is because the interest rates for a car loan in the United States really goes up. So basically increase in interest rates is a kind of act that invites a recession in a country. So if interest rates in a city rises after the central bank increased interest rates, if private companies try to repay money back to a bank to lower the borrowing costs because of interest rate hike, right? So now FRB is substantially collecting money from citizens by increasing interest rates. So why the difference in financial policies between the United States and Japan cause dollar appreciation and yen depreciation in the exchange market is that simply speaking, a lender of money with high interest rate is quite advantageous to a borrower of money, right? For example, investing currency with high interest rates means increasing returns that you can get by depositing money. So this is it's way more beneficial to manage money with dollars with high interest rates that you buy after selling yen than to manage your money with yen with low interest rates, right? So this is why Japanese yen goes too weak against the US dollars.